You are watching MSNBC's special coverage of a deadly New Year's attack in New Orleans. I'm Ana Cabrera reporting from New York. A heavy security presence and a gruesome New Year's Day scene on the historic Bourbon Street after an attacker plowed a pickup truck through a large crowd at around 3:15 local time, driving for several blocks, killing at least 10 people and leaving 30 hospitalized. The FBI has taken point on the investigation. They are investigating this as an act of terrorism. The suspect is dead, but officials have not shared details about the attacker's identity. President Biden has been briefed on the latest and has called New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell this morning. Joining us now, NBC's Emily Aketa, along with NBC's Ken Dilanian. Also with us, retired NYPD Detective Tom Verney, retired ATF Special Agent in Charge Jim Kavanaugh, and FBI Assistant Director, former FBI Assistant Director Frank Figliuzzi, as well as retired Secret Service Special Agent Bobby McDonald. Thank you all for staying with us as we continue this special coverage. Emily, let us know what the very latest is.
Hey there, Ana. Well, Louisiana's Attorney General calling this a brutal, intentional killing of innocent people who are just trying to celebrate on New Year's Eve in New Orleans. And not just any part of New Orleans. This is the heart of the French Quarter. It is a regularly tourist hotspot with 24/7 restaurant establishments. There's a nearby casino. So regularly, this is an incredibly busy area. To add to that, another layer of this, there's the New Year's Eve celebrations. And then those tens of thousands of people flocking to New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl set to play out later today. So when a driver drove down Bourbon Street, it was packed, according to police, and they believe he did so intentionally, saying that he drove down Bourbon Street around in a white pickup truck around 3:15 a.m. local time at a fast pace. Quote, the police superintendent saying trying to run over as many people as he possibly could. He eventually crashed the vehicle, as you can see on your screen, appears to crash into a crane with significant damage there and started firing at police officers, according to police. And we're just learning from police that there was an exchange of gunfire. The suspect shot two police officers who are in stable condition. The suspect was also shot and was declared dead on the scene there. Now, federal law enforcement officials tell NBC News that they are investigating this as a potential act of terror, as you mentioned, Ana, with the governor also sharing his thoughts and prayers on social media, Ana.
Emily, thank you. Please keep working to get more information for us. I want to bring in NBC's Gabe Gutierrez, who covers the White House for us. And Gabe, we read the statement earlier from the White House. Do we expect to hear from President Biden at all today?
At this point, Ana, we do not expect to hear from the president just yet. But of course, this is a very fluid situation, so that could change at any time. We do expect President Biden to depart for Camp David a little later on today. Right now, he's in Wilmington, Delaware, after ringing in the new year there and attending a private wedding ceremony last night. Now, we have heard from the White House that the president has been briefed by senior FBI and Homeland Security officials. And also, just a short time ago, we learned that the president has called the mayor of New Orleans and offered full federal support. Now, the FBI, of course, is the lead agency here, and the president has a role of not just commander-in-chief, but consoler-in-chief. Again, we do not yet know if we'll get an official statement from the president himself, whether he might speak on camera. That is yet to be determined, as this is a very fluid situation at this point. Now, Ana, we're here in South Florida, in West Palm Beach. This is where President-elect Trump spent the night. He had a New Year's party at his Mar-a-Lago estate. We have not yet heard any comment from the Trump transition with regards to this incident in New Orleans, but we have asked. But again, the news from the White House is that President Biden has spoken with the mayor of New Orleans, pledged full federal support. We expect him to continue to be briefed throughout the day, but we do not know if he might speak publicly as he heads to Camp David a little later on today, Ana.
Okay, Gabe Gutierrez reporting. Thank you for that latest information. And we do expect to hear from law enforcement again at noon Eastern. Ken, what additional information might we expect them to share at that press conference?
Well, the biggest piece of information that we're all hoping to learn is the identity of this subject, which they likely know by now because they've got a license plate, a Texas license plate, attached to that white Ford pickup truck. We've seen photos of that now. And they may have a wallet in this person's pocket. He's dead at the scene, shot by police. That was new information that Emily revealed to us. that in fact he was shot by police after engaging in gunfire with them. And even if they don't have a wallet, they have fingerprints, so they've likely been able to identify the suspect and are now combing through social media and trying to determine what the motive was here. We may not hear about motive, but we may hear an identity. And of course, another important question is whether they've ruled out any co-conspirators, whether this person was acting alone or whether there's any danger remaining to the public. Obviously, there's a huge football game being scheduled to be played in New Orleans tonight, and so that's a very important question as to whether this person acted alone or whether there's any reason to still be concerned about other potential attackers. So those are the big questions we're looking for. And then, of course, obviously this was a carefully planned attack. And I say that because it's the first incident that I'm aware of where a person used a vehicle to kill people, but then also shot at police officers and then potentially had bombs. The FBI said there were potential improvised explosive devices. And so that suggests a level of planning that took a while and a lot went into it. And any details that the authorities are learning about that would be important for us to understand, Anna.
And we are looking at live images right now there from New Orleans, 9:06 local time. We see a number of law enforcement milling about there. Tom Verney, help us understand what we're looking at right now.
Good morning, and I'd like to say Happy New Year, but unfortunately it's not turning out that way so far. And my condolences to those who have been affected by this. So I mean, as some of the prior guests have already discussed, the biggest concern here is whether or not, as the reporting was just brought to us, is whether or not this person is connected with other people or a larger group, right? When we talk about explosive devices, many times when a device goes off, there's usually a secondary device not too far away. So the fact that he had explosive devices in the truck, would lead one to believe that is it possible there are explosive devices in other places. So that's a concern there. Whether or not he's connected with someone else or a group is a concern. Or is this just a lone wolf type situation? Is this just your garden variety psychopath that just sort of snapped on New Year's Eve and decided to cause all kinds of carnage? So that's our initial concern, right? So this investigation is not over by a long shot. This is going to go on. This is going to go on for days and potentially even weeks, depending on how far-reaching it needs to go. And then as far as tonight with the Sugar Bowl, as was discussed in the prior hour, and the concern would be, is it safe to go? My initial, thought would be yes, because your events like that already have multiple layers of security to ensure as best as possible that someone like this is not able to gain entry into a large stadium like that. So that would be my initial thought there. If I was someone going to that game, I would suggest to arrive early because there's going to be very likely additional layers of security now that this has occurred.
And the next news conference we know is scheduled for noon Eastern in 2 hours from now. Jim Kavanaugh, what do you think is going on behind the scenes right now as officials get ready to brief the public?
Well, they're trying to organize chaos, and that's usually the way it is at the command post on these events, bombings and mass murders and stuff. So the chiefs and the special agents in charge and the political leaders, they're all trying to get together. They want to see what the message is they can put out. They got to put out, to calm the public's fears, is this something where there's more attacks afoot? Do they have any information like that? Or can they put that to bed? It's interesting, Anna, that the guy survived the impact of this wreck, which is a very severe impact when he hit the lift truck. He slammed into that thing pretty hard. You can see the damage on the front of that F-150. And yet he was able to still fire on and injure 2 New Orleans police officers, and some officers, either them or others, returned fire, and he was killed. He was probably somewhat hurt in the wreck, but he survived enough to be able to engage them. And as far as the improvised explosive device, we just don't know quite what that is yet. I mean, it could be some large handheld device that he was going to light and throw. It doesn't have to be a very sophisticated one, or it could be something more sophisticated that he planned to detonate electronically or with a handheld detonator or something, but the impact of the wreck, caused them to fail to do that. It could be something like that. So a lot remains to be seen. It's just not seeing barricades where someone could not drive down Bourbon Street. You can't protect the whole city with dump trucks.